Hi guys. Good morning from Maui. Today I want to hone in and talk a little bit more about behavioral interview questions. Um, you know, for pretty much all my videos, I just hop on and talk about topics because I really like the off the cusp. I know people tell you to prepare when you're a YouTuber, but I tend to I tend to work best when I'm just thinking out loud. But for this particular video, I just took a little bit of time because I really, this is such a critical function of the interview is these behavioral interview questions, and they're scary, and I get it. But the best part, if you can just kind of take that deep breath and relax, is understanding that behavioral interview questions are also the questions that you can prepare the most for and truly have the most success based on preparation. If you do not prepare for these types of questions, they will catch you off guard and they will be tricky, but they're within your control. And when you go into the interview, as much as you can have in your control, that's going to be what works best, right? So, really always be thinking about that control piece. It's just such a critical aspect. So, what are behavioral interview questions anyway? They're really trying to look at your past and take those examples from your past as indicators for future success. So they're going to focus on a wide array of topics, and you can really Google that. I can talk through a couple of them. It's going to be your internal facing, so how you deal with your teammates, and then it's going to be external facing as well. So it's going to be how you deal with clients, how you deal with customers. So that would be one aspect. How you just communicate across the board, that would be another aspect. Your overall innovative analytical skills, that's going to be another aspect. Leadership, especially if you're going into a management role, that's going to be critical as well. So be thinking about all of those topic areas and then honing in on the ones that you think are specific for the job. And so, as I talked about in my first video that I ever did, the best way to prep is to write down your strongest examples. These can be day-to-day responsibilities that you expanded upon. These can be accomplishments. These can be projects. But think about ones where you had a really big stake in the game and you made a strong contribution and it's specific. You're not trying to really think through what my contribution was. You know what it was and you can call out specific details. So as you kind of type these examples out, it's going to be great because you're just going to get your mental framework for starting to try and answer these questions. And that's the most critical, is getting your brain thinking about these examples before the interview, because you'll call them to attention faster. So again, write them down. I always like that kind of 5 to 7 to start. You'll chop it down to 5 because a couple of them won't be great, and then go through the experiment of Googling behavioral interview questions and going through those steps. So going through literally seeing if your examples answer those questions. And you don't have to go through and type out a 2-page answer for any of those questions. You can literally just say, okay, you know what, example 2 really works for question 1, let me move on. And what you'll find is your best examples are flexible and fungible. They're going to have that analytical piece. They're going to have that client facing piece. They're going to have that leadership facing piece. So they're going to be the answer to a lot of different behavioral interview questions. So those are the ones you really want to focus on. Think about all the little details about the scope, right? So how did you get started? What were some of the challenges? What were some of the accomplishments in hindsight? Really the learnings. Because if you can talk about learnings, it shows your interviewer, it shows the company that you're a continual learner, and that's really important. Um, some people like the STAR method, and I don't disagree with this method. The methodology, especially if you get really nervous for interviews, is good. Situation, task, action, result. So what was the situation? What were the tasks that were given to you? What were the actions that you took, and what were the results? What I do like about that is it gives you a good framework for really getting the answer there in a structured way. But some situations and some questions are going to call for you to start right away with the result. So just hop in there, talk about the result right off the bat, and then work your way backwards, especially if you have a limited amount of time. It's going to be so critical with a limited amount of time that you're really getting to the result right away and talking about the good stuff you did. And then you can backtrack and say, well, the reason why we got to this result was here was the project or here was the task at hand. Uh, the other thing that I didn't talk about in my last video is brevity. Keep your answers really short. You can always at the end say, is there any area you would like me to expand upon? Or just wait for your interviewer to ask you follow-up questions. That means you're answering in 30-second little blurbs, right? You're really, really chopping down your time because otherwise you will lose your audience. We all have a short attention span these days, and your interviewer is no different. So brevity can be really, really helpful as well. Uh, the prep here is what is most critical. And if you walk into the interview with these great examples, you've practiced them with other people, you have Googled behavioral interview questions, and you have gone through that task, you will be set up for success. Just be thinking about how you can take that example and answer it for multiple questions, because when you get the question that you haven't looked up, you'll have this great flexibility because you'll just have spent the time. And so again, I know behavioral interview questions can be nerve-wracking, and I've struggled with them too, but whenever I struggled, it was because I didn't appropriately prepare. So if you appropriately prepare, you'll do fantastic. If there are specific behavioral interview questions that you're thinking about or really struggle with, please mention those in the comments below, and I will hop on ASAP and try and tackle that question in the best way I know how. Thanks so much. Have a great day.